Hi guys, my name is Taylor Thornton. In my group, we'll be doing a presentation on salmonellosis given by me, Taylor, Chris, and Rebecca. Enjoy. Salmonellosis is an infection caused by the bacteria Salmonella, named after American veterinary surgeon Daniel Elmer Salmon. However, it was first discovered by Dr. Salmon's research assistant, Theobald Smith, investing pigs for the cause of hog cholera, or commonly known as swine fever, in 1855. Sadly, it is considered one of the main causes of food poisoning in the world, causing 1.2 million illnesses in the United States every year. If severe and not treated immediately with antibiotics, it could result in death. Each year in the United States, there are 23,000 visits to the hospital and 450 deaths caused by this dreadful infection. There are over 2,000 strains of this bacteria, but the two most common infecting strains are Salmonella typhimurium and Salmonella enteritis. Salmonella enteritis causes the majority of food poisoning, but is mostly associated with poultry or chicken. Salmonella typhimurium is the second most common strain affecting beef, but cases have been found in pork and other poultry products. The morphology is bacillus. It is a motile bacteria due to its Paricheous flagella. Paricheous is defined as having flagella randomly over the body, as you can see from the photos on the left-hand side of the slide. This allows the bacteria to move in any direction depending on which flagella are moving on the body. Cell diameters range from 0.7 to 1.5 micrometers, while the length ranges from 2 to 5 micrometers, making it visible under a microscope. The black and white picture is actually a picture of salmonella under a microscope. It is gram-negative and non-spore forming. Another unique structure to salmonella is it has 16 adhesion factors to attach to the mucus lining on the stomach as it makes its way to the intestines. Salmonella are facultative anaerobes, meaning they can create ATP with or without oxygen. However, when there is no oxygen, they are obtaining energy through fermentation, creating hydrogen sulfide, which is toxic to the body. Once salmonella reaches the intestines, they secrete AVRA toxin, which suppresses the immune system. This occurs because AVRA toxin is a form of a virulent protein called effectors that alter the tight junctions of the intestinal cells, increasing their permeability. This increased permeability allows the salmonella to cross into the intestinal cells without the body causing an inflammatory response, allowing it to further infect the body. Because salmonella is a gram-negative bacteria, it has an outer membrane consisting of liposaccharide. In this case, the outer membrane secretes a specific liposaccharide called lipid A endotoxin, which upon release shocks the host. Salmonella also releases enterobactin, which allows the bacteria to steal iron from the host body for its own growth. The reservoirs for this disease vary from living to non-living reservoirs. Non-living reservoirs are found in foods, namely raw beef, poultry, eggs, unpasteurized milk, and vegetables. However, it can be transmitted through living reservoirs too. These include pet turtles, lizards, and snakes. The pet turtles explain why I have a picture of Crush from Finding Nemo in my presentation. He was the first turtle that popped into my head. Dogs and cats are also reservoirs, but it is mainly spread by their saliva, so be aware of dog licks, or as my sister would affectionately call them, dog kisses. Humans are also reservoirs, but it is spread through oral hygiene and their feces.
Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Bodine, and since Taylor told us about the etiology and the reservoirs, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the signs and symptoms as well as the transmission of salmonella. And then Rebecca's going to go ahead and finish off our disease presentation. So like I said, I'm going to talk about the signs and symptoms and the transmission of salmonella. One thing that I like to point out is that the difference between signs and symptoms. where signs are something that other people can see. Somebody who does not have salmonella, they can see the signs of it. Those signs being things in this disease are things like diarrhea and vomiting, things like that. It's easy to see if somebody has those issues. Signs tend to develop um, fairly shortly after coming in contact with the bacteria, 12 to 72 hours after being exposed. And symptoms are different. Symptoms are things that only the person that is infected with or has come in contact with the bacteria. Um, Symptoms are things that only they can feel, and they just have to tell us about them, and we just have to believe them. Symptoms usually last anywhere from 4 to 7 days. Most people recover without any treatment, and they don't really have any problems. There are rare cases where, because of the diarrhea and the vomiting, that people have to be hospitalized. And even more rare is people will die from salmonella, but that's usually because they didn't seek any treatment. Symptoms for this bacteria are abdominal cramps, fever, nausea, chills, things like that. And then there are very, very rare cases where people get reactive arthritis, which is due to the diarrhea and the vomiting as well. Um, and so it causes a pain in your joints, and that can last anywhere from a couple of months up to a year. And then we'll move on to the transmission. Transmission of salmonella is, there's some more common cases, things like domestic and wild animals. Your pets can have salmonella on them, and they wouldn't show any signs of having this bacteria. Cats, dogs, birds, reptiles in particular, as well as wild animals could have them, but it's usually less likely that you'd come in contact with them. The most common way that humans contract the salmonella bacteria is through the consumption of contaminated foods, things like eggs, meats, poultry, things like that. Usually it's poultry. That seemed to be the most common in the research I did. Less common is person to person, usually through the fecal oral route. So usually through somebody's fecal matter, and that's like the lesser common way, but it definitely can happen. So, and then these are the sources that I used. I used the Center for Disease Control mostly, and I also used the WHO website. So now we'll go on to Rebecca, and she will conclude our disease presentation.
All right, everyone. My name is Rebecca Walker. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm majoring in family and consumer science with an emphasis in education. And in this next section, we're going to be talking about the treatment of salmonella, how to prevent and control it, and any additional information. The first thing we're going to cover is the treatment for salmonellosis. For this bacterial disease, there are no vaccines available or that currently exist. The key to handling salmonella infection and the biggest concern is hydration. It is important to drink lots of water, and if necessary, you may need to acquire and take antidiarrheals. In some cases, it may be necessary to go to a medical facility to get an IV. Antibiotics are not recommended unless it is a complicated case. Antibiotics can actually prolong the infection. And typically, it is not necessary to seek medical attention. However, it is recommended to see a doctor for those who are infants, elderly, pregnant, or have weakened immune systems. If the illness lasts more than a few days, is accompanied with a high fever, blood is present in the stools, or if they're experiencing signs of dehydration or any combination of these. Okay, the next topic we're going to cover is how to prevent salmonellosis and how to control it. It is important to keep your food clean. Foodborne illnesses are serious, and it is vital to practice proper food safety and handling. Some ways to do this are to be sure to cook meats and vegetables thoroughly and to store food properly. It is important to store raw meat separate from vegetables and cooked food. A good way to do this is to store raw meat on the bottom shelf of your refrigerator or in a drawer with raw meat only. When handling any food, it is important to avoid the temperature danger zone, which is between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not leave food out of proper storage for more than a total of 4 hours. An easy saying to remember to keep your food in proper storage is this: keep hot foods hot and cold foods cold. One of the most important and simplest things you can do to prevent and control salmonellosis is to wash your hands after using the bathroom, after preparing food, along with sanitizing your surfaces. This will prevent bacteria from spreading along with bacterial growth. The last thing we're going to cover is additional information that shows how salmonellosis is in our lives and can really be found all around us. The latest national outbreak in the United States was Salmonella branderup infection. It was traced back to Rose Acre Farms shell eggs, and the date attached to it is March 23rd, 2018. That's earlier this year. So far, there have been 35 cases reported throughout 9 different states. Those states are Colorado, Florida, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia. Out of those 35 cases, there have been 11 hospitalizations and 0 deaths. A recall on the eggs is necessary. The brands that were using these eggs include Coburn Farms, Country Daybreak, Food Lion, Glenview, Great Value, Nelms, Publix, Sunshine Farms, and Sunups. Remember, even though the eggs were carrying the bacteria, you can prevent yourself and those in your house from getting salmonella through proper food handling. We hope you have enjoyed this presentation and have taken notes and learned lots.